Dr. Garu was sharing some of his teachings and learnings.
Yeah. You can reduce the speed.
I think it's not working.
Okay.
Replacing that working.
You have no control. It decides what you
Actually,
want.
this is the old one. Very old regulator has got repaired. I put new one. It doesn't suit.
So it's your house.
Yeah.
No, regulator suits anyone. Electronic regulator can work anywhere.
So, sorry.
You are saying something.
So, Dr. Garu was sharing some aspects of Sanatana Dharma and from his teachings and his experience and practically how to implement and different things, and question and answers were happening. It's like an open discussion and what are the different aspects of even those are the kind of question and answer sessions where you can learn about what to imbibe also. You have some doubts and things like that. So even first you should know what, and your doubts you should clarify. You can't be clarifying others' doubts. And then experience things, and it's part of that. So the question and answers part, we had a glimpse of it. And as in, if you be blown into a bigger picture, a bigger scale, then we have a workshop, we have those things and things. That's what happened. And we kind of reached, Vishakari is probably not going to make it. And only one more person is expected, Mama and Vidya. We may be getting a little delay. But, so what recipes we do?
Recipes and I got the place over there. So in forest I have 2 acres in the city. Beautiful thick forest with waterfalls and
Waterfalls, huh?
yeah, in my land house. But I didn't tell till now. Just
Open all the Pandora boxes. We will.
because it's side by side. And now I want to migrate to the village. I have seen several villages in the Telangana, but there is no water here. There is a plenty of water.
Water in
my
Udupi
concern is the water.
Yeah.
I don't
We will also go. No?
yeah, you can calm down. You can calm down there.
My place is close to Udupi.
But now what
Drivable.
And now I am working for the Mata. For the food sector.
They have some-
In future I am going to appoint as the dean for the TPS.
I think they.
For the Pakistan.
Oh, they are going to set up a university.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Very interesting.
Okay.
Pakistan I am going to create.
Super.
Taking care of. That's all. Working. I am working parallel that. But until now I didn't work on the team.
This is amazing actually.
Because my thing is the water should be the major energy and air should be energy. I observed several lands here, but I have a positive vibes.
Udupi is Krishna's place anyway.
Not Udupi exactly, from
Yeah.
Udupi to 1 hour.
Yeah.
So very close to sea, but my land is not the sea. Probably to the hills.
Udupi is our nearest village.
Weather is on 30 degrees black, so even summer also black.
And maybe Udupi will be the place 1 hour wherever he says.
See my
It may have a shortcut also.
What you want?
my sister.
See, Dr. DPS guy place is also.
I am from Commune, North
How far is
Kerala.
that?
Maybe 3 hours.
3 hours ఉంటుంది.
3 hours, అంతే. No, there are a lot of national highways.
Highway near straight.
No, there are forest highways.
Right.
Hill highway is there. They are all connected through hill highways.
This thing, I'm
Whatever
working
forest
mainly
is
on the
very close.
Indian Pakistan.
Perfect.
Pakistan as per the season, as per the region, as per the body constitution. That's what I'm doing. That's my main.
Concern.
Foundational thing, కదా. Very good.
And parallel working with the cotton, basic cotton.
Avuna? Okay.
Basic cotton. We conduct the workshops and we promote mainly working on the Bengal and Gujarat because these two only still that artisans are there behind.
And they can learn, huh?
That 500 count, where you get the 500?
Acha, Jamdani type of.
Jamdani,
Ah,
300 count.
Finding wala.
Fine.
He is also there in that.
Keep this on the table.
Perfect. High cotton ఉంటుంది జందాని కదా. So that hand woven thing చేయాలంటే artisan has to be that skilled.
Every year we conduct small workshops and we promote those products to the. My main concern is that to preserve that art, that hand, that skill. When we respect and when you promote those things, that only next generation will take it forward. Otherwise, मेरे पापा भी मांग रहे हैं क्या क्यों करना है migrate to other things. That's why present slowly I'm working on the Indian clothing and next architect, Indian architect. Indian
Architect.
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 Indian construction.
Construction.
We are three. Roti,
Roti,
kapda,
kapda,
makan.
makan.
These three. That's why
Yeah.
everything is an integration. Because in olden days, our kitchen, our house design is the main concept. Olden days, our house demands the physical activity. Indian kitchen demands the physical activity. Food, and pound.
No,
That's why
but-
everything should
Correct.
have give the muscle movement, so that we will be very energetic. Nowadays, we lost that design. How to at least cope with the modern thing with the ancient thing. That's thing. We are working on that houses in that area only.
Agama Shastra.
Yes.
Part of that is Agama Shastra.
అన్నోక లైబ్రరీ అనుకోవచ్చు.
There is one thing I definitely Arup Gardi.
Arup is staying here.
Yes.
Whenever he comes, he stays here.
So he works with Arup.
There is a concern that I wanted to wish to come and meet him when I was there.
Almost whenever he has wife and husband, he
ఇప్పుడు
comes.
రాబోతున్నారు
Okay,
ఈరోజు
okay.
రేపట్లో వస్తారేమో
Yeah,
because
yeah.
14th.
Tomorrow is coming.
Almost I they reach.
Because he keeps on saying that no, we are staying at Begumpet with our friends. So I say it's you, okay.
ఆరూప్ గారు వర్క్ చేస్తున్న దాని కన్సర్న్ ఏదైతే ఉందో ద థింగ్ దట్ దే ఆర్ వర్కింగ్ టువర్డ్స్ ఇస్
I'm working on the Kutch also. Parallel.
acha so I know about one of they over the period of corona Pradeep ji also knows this they had accumulated a stock from the artisans now they have to move that one of the main reasons to move that accumulated stock is stock but they want to set up an artisan school there's only 2 schools in entire country so they are planning to set up a school from the money that they make so that it will add branding to this and then they are going to move further so and basically they are planning for moving a stock at if it's a bulk they are going to give a good discount to them. It's a good entrepreneurial opportunity if there is someone who is doing that so that's something that I was trying to work towards.
What are the things they have?
There is a catalog I can share.
You actually shared the.
See-
I'm also interested. in
See,
certain activities.
there are some places where what they do is they give this sort of a room,
Huh.
and any artisan can go there, and then have a kitchen and a staying place there, and open up. There are exhibitions happening in many places. I was also planning to. That is what I suggested to Prakati, to have such a place where you have got a room for the artisan and then a place to live, permanent, give to them.
Acha.
Understood? So,
Acha.
and that's a training place. So
Acha.
people who come and stay in the place, they can go and then go around, learn whatever they want to learn from different people. So it's like a training program. And assume somebody learned something and then show that. We could give a diploma for them. Understood? So it becomes a natural training center. It's not forcefully one batch is started, you teach everything to them. You go and pick up like a buffet.
So this can be part of the
This is what I'm
alternate
saying.
university what we are
That's what
doing.
I'm
We
saying.
are already there, already in the
Hyderabad unda?
not Lavada. Lavada means from Amravati, Maharashtra.
Yeah.
Huh.
It goes to Madhya Pradesh. That route goes to Madhya Pradesh. One route. It's a ghat.
Okay.
The place is called the Lavada. Lavada.
LAVA.
LAVA GA.
Lavada.
DA.
GA.
అయితే DA.
DA.
Okay.
There is such kind of university. There is no certificate in that. This is all artisans university. You can go and be
And it can be a selling place.
You can pick
Yes.
up.
It can be an export.
Yeah.
It can be a learning place.
Yes.
University without walls.
It should be run.
See,
it should be a
that is
selling
a
place also. There is
sound
see,
right.
Vidya
That is
and all
a-
this
There is a-
together it has to go.
I have a beautiful presentation made on that. Commercial.
Then we can.
And
With that is
Whenever we are meeting, it is a.
that is the one place.
Right.
There is the universities. Okay, you can go and you can learn. There is no certificate at all. You should feel yes.
no, we can. What I'm saying is we can have tie-up and we have something like that where we can certify people also. Diploma anybody can give.
Huh.
That's not a big issue.
That's why Open University it can give on its own. Sorry, alternate university.
No, actually, Only thing when you want a government job, they will ask whether you have a UGC approval or not. Otherwise, no, everybody feels diploma. Anybody. It's only that you need to have a trust and you need to have a. And then we could actually see, for example, you don't require too much of expenditure also. You can do it like any person who can draw this. Any person who can draw this also is a big art. No? Somebody has to transfer this knowledge.
So are we into the introduction session? Yes or
It is still going on, yeah. So Millet, you are doing too many things, so it took time. And then
It's
some
not like that.
side
It's all
discussion.
learning.
It is a second
In the
problem.
course of my journey, okay, I observed all things. Food is my passion from childhood onwards. Wherever I go, I just observe the cooking methods and practices. And mostly I work with all tribes in India. Commune from the Uttarakhand, Gondus, Vojas, Morams, Naikapuru, Chenchus. I just stayed with them for several years.
I keep traveling to all the northeast, you know, and
Yeah.
the momos they have. I learn how to prepare it. I'm also passionate about learning all this.
I traveled a lot. Not now, so 10 years, 15 years back also. I traveled a lot. Then I observed. Obviously, what we like, that one attracts us.
Attracts us.
There's a natural
Sometimes we gravitate towards that. We only see that the lens is that.
that I started to implement in my journey slowly. Main thing is I like the process of the concern, just like Rachabanda in olden days. That's our concept. The people are so relaxed. That's why if you go to the tribal area, if you go to the rural places, still the people are so concerned because they have that relaxation in their mind. They are not occupied. That's our real Indian culture. Okay. When the relaxation is there, when they're so calm and relaxed, then only they observe the things.
I keep saying city people have three things: hurry, worry, and curry. These three V's, what is problem?
That's what flowing steadily. That's why I choose the food as my main center.
Yeah, everybody wants.
Roti kapda makan. Adbhutam. Just a side. Which side am What about the hemp side? You work anything on that side?
Just I started with it. I worked on the only on the food and the festivals. Just I started journey in the architect and
నాగబాబు గారు సంక్రాంతి టైంలో ఈ సంవత్సరం లాస్ట్ 2 years చేయలేదు.
next year I want to do
Yeah.
it. Because that time what I do actually 7 years I done Sankranti festival, harvest festival. This all guys. I involved all the artisans. All the artisans on the all folk arts. India we have the folk arts. Actually, we have 3 vrittis. One is the Bhiksha vritti, one is the Bhiksha vritti, another is the Vaishya vritti, next is the Karma vritti. Karma vritti, Bhiksha vritti, Vaishya vritti. These 3 vrittis are the main base pillars for the Indian economy. Our economy means we got that all the CA, not CA. Our economy means spiritual economy. Olden days what do we do? At the time of birth, Kumaratana and Jularatana, all the people come and do that ritual, birth ritual. For that house, that guy, that Malik, he honor with them with the food and the respect with some clothing, clothes and food. Next is the Kesakandana. Kesakandana, next Namakarana. We have 16 to 18 rituals, samskaras. At the time of marriage, all artisans come together and perform the rituals. Kumara,
37. I think 37 artisans.
Actually, 18 is the main. Actually, we have in Gondus, still they have the one story. They have in their Mahabharata, Bhima is the main god, not Dharmaraj. For this
Okay, Bhima is the
tribal,
elder.
for tribal Mahabharata, Bhima is the main person, not.
Because of photos
Food.
and that.
That's our
Bhima is famous for food.
Nalabhima.
Bhima, what is Draupadi? She's getting ready for the marriage as a bride, bridal marriage, bridal makeup. Okay? That story goes throughout the night. That bridal makeup story. They
I didn't know.
they narrate the story throughout the night, but only the bridal makeup story goes on 12 hours.
12 hours.
When she is wearing the bangles, she narrates about the artisan, how it evolved bangle. When she putting the bindi, she narrates the whole story of the how it evolved.
The whole history. Very interesting. Yeah.
We don't know if
So they have lot of time during this time. That's why Ramayana, they have 8,000 slokas on footwear itself. Yes, Rama's footwear is very famous, right? Many slokas are dedicated to him.
You can't make it famous. You can't make it. Okay?
Sure.
You understand? But she explains, the story guide explains each and the artisan how who involved the makeup. Makeup means we think just like a bangles and all. But for this makeup, this much people involved. Okay, I should be respectful for them. I should vibrate them. Okay? She should always feel that, and she feels and she wears the bangles. Just not like that. Yeah, I am very grateful to this artisan, this artist.
Yesterday we were telling, the plate of meals when you get to think about all the farmers who made this, then only eat.
That means for bridal makeup, almost 16 artisans involved. Jeweler, such kind. For all the, that means for that much people involved in the marriage means that is the रोजगारी.
Yes.
Yeah, उतना लोगों वो शादी में खड़ा के perform करके, then it's not a barter system. Even Kumar give the matka, Sonar give the gold, but we respect that guy respect both in the equally. Not he has given the gold, he has given the only part. That's why I give only small amount here. I need to give more amount as gold. Not like that. When it's a gold, even it's a mitti, he respects both in the same way.
But if it's not barter, what do they give back?
Barter is the equal. We calculate.
There is a-
I'm giving this much
standardized,
not the
equal.
business.
So what do they give back?
Our Indian culture is not a barter system.
Right.
Our Indian culture is the spiritual system, spiritual economy. That means we don't bother you are giving the metal, you are giving the gold. Because of you, I'm living. Because of you, my house is flourishing. That's why I should respect you. That's the only connection, not material. Only connection, interlinks. You understand?
Yeah.
That's why even I perform nearly 20 marriages in the same way. In the same way, I went to village. I find a local artisans, at least who are the available still. I ask the house guys to go to that house and initially give the tambula, nariyal. In our house we have a marriage. Please come and support me. Even like Jularo or Kumar, whoever. This guy go and shoot. And except they make every government stand. But only sonar ka hum jana hai. We go and we bring that thali with precision.
Every other
Artisan will come to the marriage, to the venue or the place, house.
Because sari is the most, we feel that is the main one.
साड़ी क्या?
Kali.
Thali.
मंगलसूत्र.
Mangalsutra.
Sutram is the main that one. That's why we go and we do the ritual there.
To the sonar.
So now, then only and for Jular also.
Jula also.
Jula. We go and we do the puja to that charaka. Then
Maggam.
Maggam. Then we respect them. Then only. That's why now still if you go to the rural areas, they even though they are not weavers, not doing the weaving, they still keep that charaka inside. Because still that marriage people they go and they do rituals are there, but the actual concept gone.
That is why some Padmashali wear that thread also because of that I think.
Brahmin.
They are not Padmashali.
That time
Padmashali I've seen. Huh?
Yeah,
That is
Padmashali.
another Chanjam is a
No, it may be good link to what he's saying.
नहीं वो थोड़ा अलग है.
No. Actually, those time what happens at the time of marriage, sonar that goldsmith goes and see the design in the main darwaja.
Of the house.
According to that, they design the jewelry. Each house has a particular design.
Why? What is the relevance to
Their
this?
family hereditary design. I think.
So that is
If that lady wears that
that will
jewelry,
belong to that. Just
if she goes to the temple, everybody finds she belongs to
Okay,
that
this
house.
house.
That technology.
Now
it's it is a kind of
I met a South African lady.
वो क्या बोलते हैं QR code.
They had this royalty, so they have this beads they wear. Depending on the beads, they can identify.
No,
which
you
is-
go to northeast,
Not in our
the overcoat which they wear, the knife which they
Design,
keep,
huh,
you can
design.
detect
Detect
which.
price.
which is
Yeah,
So
which
it's a
tradition.
olden
in
QR code.
Himachal now also.
Yeah.
You can find it at the Gagra.
Huh.
The Gagra,
based on that you can identify.
she's a married.
Himachal,
or not
Arunachal.
married.
All these places.
No need to ask you are married or not married. If you see that girl,
they
you
can
will know, and she's married. She is a widow. She is not yet married. She like that, you can identify with the dressing. That's the uniqueness in the Indian philosophy. Each and every person has some beautiful legacy of. At the time of death, everybody comes and respect that one. That's the last rites. The fire to everybody comes and they respect the body. Last rites they do. Not house people. All
Anybody?
artisans come. They only do the last rites. Okay, till now this body
Supported us.
respect. That's the last rites actually. Please forget all. I have written a book on this marriage and I have written a book.
Absolutely. Awesome.
This is the socio-economy in Ugadi came. In Ugadi market for the Kumar. We give respect to the art, that work, that art.
Even
Now
we
it's
were,
like-
we buy clothes.
But clothing is market for each and every time. But particular time, particular marriage.
Cloth and food is common.
Yeah, even. No, I understand this.
That's
Nice.
why.
And
That's why I'm working on a different this aspect.
no, Arthavan, I have a
Economy.
Spiritual economy is what I took to know. The thing is, one concern about because so many people are here.
You want to know the spiritual economy, the simplest is Kujala went to Krishna, what he got. He only offered a little thing. Kujala.
कृष्ण का दोस्त बचपन का दोस्त
Sudama is
हाँ,
Kuchela.
कुचेला is another.
What is Kuchela? Who is bad? Chela is dress. He's a poor man. That's the meaning. Yeah. Poor man goes to a rich fellow. What is given is only little.
That too is eaten off.
And then no, and they studied in same school. So there was
same
no
class.
international school and common school.
Yes.
And that too, Krishna went to such a poor fellow's school after crossing many states.
अंते क्या? हाँ,
See, if you do the geography, the residential school program was there. You don't have to be in that. And such a kingly person also went to a poor fellow's school, no?
That's how भाई तभी तो पता चलता है ना. Then only you come to
That
know
is what
the
is
society.
experience. But today what happens is we will send everybody to international
status
status.
guests. नहीं,
Right, status-based school also there. That time also it was there, but he was in such a situation where he had to go there. That's why he could know things.
It was not status based, it was skill based. Because based on the Acharya, what is it? That's where it is. There is no status.
But
Specialist.
not everybody got the opportunity to go to school anyway. Chal janta.
So the thing is, there's one thing I want.
Whoever wanted, there was options.
So with respect to
Today, no option.
parents wanted to go, you were going. This is only today's, at least in cities, maybe there is programmed behavior, no thinking. At least don't get scoldings from your ones, your this thing, don't become a odd one out.
Actually, this is not an educating system. It's a
Literate.
Okay, education system means everyone should do what they want. Okay.
So
Actually, final destiny of the human being is the these themselves. Because of all this vyavaharika, we separate from ourselves. Ourselves, this education should help to touch ourselves and it helps to reach to our destiny. Actually, why is the purpose of our destiny?
Mana satsang is the reason is to bring this conscious living experience is to support that transition
This
back to the
Western education is introduced because of the for running their companies.
Factories.
It's all
మన ఈ batch all knows that అంటే in the sense that they have kind of experienced it luckily.
That means we should education. It's not an educating system. Education. It's only literating system. Literates you person. So you are not living as per your grounds. That means it's not education.
One thing before because Srikanth garu has to leave at 12:30, so we'll have his introduction.
Yeah.
And this thing. One thing because cotton and మీరు కాబట్టి Arun Rakshit garu గురించి కూడా nice that Arun knows someone and there could be a discussion further. But before that, one thing is Phoenix Group is their real estate group in Hyderabad. They are into cotton farming. The one of
Organic.
exactly, and on a bigger scale. One of them is interested, so they're doing. So they have a channel as well. So if I know BMK Sharma ji who couldn't make it today, he has some channel. If there is anyone else like that who knows, if we help Arup ji to move this stock for once, it will lead to setting up a school. If you do one-time effort, it will help to set up for the artisans. It will create a permanent, perennial outcome. So if you know anyone that can help them, I have some pictures and all, and 14 to 18 they are going to be here and they are already in the city. So Cheneta Santa, I will share it with you. In the group I will share. So if you can connect
Artisans also will come. They are also there.
Only
No, only product.
Huh.
The produce is there.
Produce is there and they are there. So if you can have a look at it, and the school that they are also wanting to use, they are doing it at a low cost because it is Vinoba Bhave set up school long back. Now it is disused, so they are trying to use that for this purpose.
Where is that?
In Kolkata. In Kolkata.
Only two places.
Huh?
Three places are kept.
Huh.
People forgot Vinod.
That's.
Yeah.
So the thing is, yeah, I will share that. So please, that is one concern. I written my impressions, and you can also.
What exactly is the product?
This is a cloth.
Oh.
Cloth is like the hand woven, hand spun.
Okay.
Basic cotton. I think.
No, only thing
organic
the
was not-
thickness will be. I also had woven. We had a late machine.
Acha.
We did
Even-
all that.
See,
The only thing it will be little thicker.
this Jamdan is very fine.
Very only the Gujarat and Bombay people knows to make it little.
The
Bombay is
thick one,
really-
but the thick one is very comfortable to wear.
Yeah, but people
Because
this
this
one
will
is
have that
not
roughness,
Yeah.
so it won't touch to the skin.
even bed sheets and all were that big ones.
So, for Charka as it came, so Vaikamurthy garu, who was not able to come today, he is keen on weaving. He bought a Charka also, antique. He's an antique collector, so he bought an antique Charka, and he is keen on spinning his own yarn and then making a shirt of it. He is a 90-year-old young man, so yeah.
antique collections in
Open museum. YK museum. YK antiques.
Chayinita can put this to the
Perfect. పోయి
మున్సిగా ఫ్రెండ్స్
చెప్పారు ఈరోజు హెల్త్ బాగాలేక రాలేపారు బెంగళూరు నుంచి
బాగా తెలుసు
చెప్పారు మిగతా రావుగా నాకు తెలుసు నేనే వచ్చేస్తానని So these are some of those things.
I must first seek your forgiveness because I'm a little sleepy. I'm still having some travel lag, I think. I've been traveling for the last month or so. So actually I slept through some of your wisdom sharing. So at an early age, I set out in pursuit of some existential questions like who is God, what is this religion, etc. So predominantly my life in the last 30 years has been seeking answers to these questions. I'm sure the doctor will have something to say on this. Ultimately, I don't think the answers matter so much. At some point, even the questions disappear and maybe the questioner also will disappear. So I've been engaged, through this journey I've been engaged in two things. One is education, mostly the free progress education as which was started by mother and Sri Aurobindo in Pondicherry. So the emphasis there is more on learning than teaching. So everything emanates from one's own sovereignty. And what you want to learn, you set out to become. So education has been a passion. But that was for about a decade or so. But most of what I learned then helped me in my own evolution. I've just completed my Sashtikurti. So I think I'm going back into education in a way. And I believe all life is a place of learning. So I don't see why education should be confined to schools or four walls or even in universities. Because we all continue to learn as we go. So I'm very interested in this experiential learning, which I had a few glimpses of it in the videos that I saw. So I'm getting involved with some groups which are getting into experiential learning. And the other thing that I'm interested is in environment or ecology. So I got into organic farming. I'm not a successful natural farmer, but I have experimented enough now to scale up. I think I have had enough failures to now design a successful venture. So I'm doing some farming near Tenali on my own. So education, environment, and enlightenment has been my pursuit. So these are the 3 E's of my life. My name is Shrikant.
You from Tenali.
My hometown is Tenali. I was born in Punjab, grew up in the east and south of India. But I've been living in Hyderabad for 20 years. First 10-11 years I was in Banjara Hills. The last 10 years now I've been at Golconda, Sun City.
He's from the other city.
In Pibble, what Tirupati Reddy is a good friend.
What did you say?
Tirupati Reddy.
He's into organic.
He's also into organic and
He's more into the marketing of
Marketing.
organic produce.
But what were you doing professionally?
I trained to be a chemical engineer.
You
But
worked
never
in,
practiced chemical engineering.
you didn't work anywhere.
We have our parent business is pharmaceuticals, but I didn't do much.
But that is Nagarjuna's traditional 13th century Nagarjuna. He said, Sakshal Anubhava Irkrishto na Suto na Gurudarsidaha Lokanam Upakaraya. That is what is experiential learning. That is what his definition. Nagarjuna. Who was a chemical engineer.
He was?
He was a chemical engineer, who was a pharmacist, who was a that is why you see Nagarjuna pharmaceuticals, Nagarjuna chemical industry, Nagarjuna Ayurvedic shops. No mutton shop, chicken shop in his name. No barber shop. Because that was not his job.
So our parent business is pharmaceuticals. My brother and my other cousins take care. I got into agribusiness for some time.
Agri is also pharma only.
I was exporting spices, natural products, and stuff. But I'm not much into business.
So, have you been through Arvindo school?
Studied?
No, Arabindo's mother was a great
We went
flower
to
artist.
Mirambika.
Flowers. Her expertise was
अच्छा
flower
तो फिर
art.
आप लवलेश को जानते हो?
Yeah. You're connected with Nana.
No, Lavalesh and I have been talking about starting a school.
He's already.
Yeah, he's with the integral school. I'm also associated briefly with them, and that we are planning to start a school in Sainipur, possibly. No, only.
Where do you stay?
PBL City.
Rebel City,
Rebel City.
Appa Junction.
Appa Junction.
Yeah, he
मेरी
has
परवरिश
some
हुई है
connection.
वहाँ पे। वहाँ पे मेरी परवरिश हुई है। रहता हूँ मैं इधर वो भी।
He is planning.
मम्मी पापा वहीं रहते हैं। डॉक्टर एस
So we are all same group.
हमारा एरिया में कौन आया?
Yeah.
My store is getting set up there.
Store.
We'll talk about it.
That's where my education
People are all completely connected. So, at the introduction was the and then discussions will happen. So, Lavlesh. So, the school is Lavlesh. Lavlesh is the guy who is your friend.
He and I are starting the school. The idea is forest school is basically we're drawing some principles from Sri Aurobindo School of Thought, but also ancestral skills, which is forest skills.
You're setting up in
The larger idea is that is a discussion, which we are still struggling to figure out the space itself. But the larger idea is to, migrate from Sainipuri to a space outside, which is 50-60 kilometers away from the city, or maybe 100, I don't know where.
Residential school.
So that's where the whole question has been. Either we look at a residential school which can take in children from the grade of 8 with that age group, or look at something which is 40-50 kilometers away from the city, yet closer to a populace which can actually feed children into the school. So we are looking out for spaces. We found 2 spaces. We're still on a lookout.
We'll add one more space. We have found another.
Please share the concern here so that if people might know and then we can.
And the Millet conversation, the
Aram se, when you
So,
get your
each
chance, at least
introduction-
throw something so that we will remember that, and whenever something else comes up, we are able to.
Small steps
channel
gets
that.
into a bigger mountain.
When your introduction happens. So, any more questions or like
Yeah, Srikanth.
for Srikanth just these kind of बोल दिया तो अभी questions कुछ है कुछ anything.
But I always believe there is a starting point, but ending I don't know.
So one more thing I know is Srikanth Garu is also setting up a commune for conscious living. That was one effort that you were actively working on or you are working towards. So something like
I
that.
am not ready to speak about it because it's not yet crystallized.
ठीक.
So it's, I mean, these are the elements: education, environment.
Denali or
Hyderabad.
Tenali is where I have the scaling up will happen near Tenali. But we are talking about a small scale thing in Aziz Nagar,
okay.
near the police.
JBIT,
Vignan Jyoti.
Yale University. All these places are my, I always relate to academic institutions.
Exactly opposite Vignan
I
Jyoti.
worked in Yale University.
So
Huh.
you can start introduction.
So,
Huh? It's not series, it's
It's a random pick. Emoji.
Aziz Nagar lo English language, sorry.
No, I'm just thinking of doing something there.
I'm very keen. Maybe we
Education,
should.
environment and enlightenment, all of them together.
Mhm.
Everything will be related to that. Anand sir,
Yes, sorry.
education, environment and environment related will be something like that. Something related to that will happen.
No, all of it.
Together.
It's all same. It's all related to life. LIFE.
True, true.
You can't escape life. And do education.
So I started to appreciate some of through my sleepiness, the idea of living together and living and learning and growing.
LIFE. Live in full enjoyment.
Enjoy.
Learn in full enjoyment. Learning is an investment for future earning.
Learning.
Then what? Future learning is what everybody is doing. Whether that learning can be knowledge, the learning can be pain,
That's a
learning
different
can be
You can learn a lot of things.
material, that depends. Dhanam is different. There are only 3 requirements in the world. Only 3 requirements in the world. Vedandako Brahmanaha, Kshatriyo Vijayi Bhavet, Vaishyo Dhana Samantha. But basic requirement is happiness.
All this for happiness.
Yeah?
All this for happiness.
All these for happiness. But many people go behind this, forget happiness. That is what it is.
Next introduction.
Huh.
No, I will wait for it. Just waiting for the next one.
Manmohanji.
That will end my
Ah.
the beginning of the next level.
You want to take first because
Yeah.
you started off.
So, I mean, a good question, but I have been traveling.
Your name?
Arun Raj. Been someone who's had great affinity to powerlifting. I was into powerlifting, if you know. That's right. Although it was a year before I got into powerlifting, I got into yoga because of my mom's need to get me into anger management. Okay. So I was 13 when I was introduced to Siddhasana yoga. But it was a year later when I started lifting weights, and I found my yoga in weightlifting. I used to have constant conversations, engagements, and rather arguments with my guru about what is yoga, and so on and so forth. That's how my interest with understanding body started. I'm not getting into the soul and the spiritual aspects, but that's how the whole introduction happened. It was also the time when I started traveling pretty much on my own, and right from my childhood, I would not eat sambar, which was made by anybody else but from my mom. Okay, and until when I started traveling, I started realizing sambar in different landscapes is so very different, extremely different. So much so that you can actually give that particular recipe a different name. I mean the sambar, in Shingeri Mutt, for example, or maybe in Malnad regions, the sambar is so different from the sambars we make. And I started realizing how much do we actually push our environments to produce a standard menu. To the point where today, fast forward, this is when I was 14, 16 ke beech mein, and fast forward last year or 2 years ago is when I designed a program called Sambar Ecology. It is all about how we look at menus across our cuisines and how these cuisines actually push our landscapes for a certain kind of monoculture-based agriculture. And that eventually affects what is our environment. So the company I'm actually starting, there are multiple companies which I'm starting. One of them is called the Pickle Jar. and the catch line or the tagline is called "Your plate is nature." So आपके थाली में जो है, it is going to govern your ecology in time to come. So how conscious are we about our food is where my journey has been. Like him, food has been one of those things, but Vyayamam actually took a major stage for me to the extent where I was even. So Vyayamam took a center stage in my life to the extent where I started understanding how human beings can live, become stronger, and so on and so forth. And most of it actually went through a lot of injuries as well. Injury management, understanding your how injuries can be healed through food and movement is what my larger phase of life has been. I was lifting to the tune of 220 kilos on my squat, doing 600 odd kilos on my leg press, and so on and so forth. I was an extremely big guy, 105 kilos of body weight, big dude, eating big, to the extent of eating half a kilo meat every day because that's what we've been told to retain your kind of physical bodies. But it took me an injury in 2000, multiple injuries. I started picking up my first injury in the age of 16, and fast forward in 2009 is when I started realizing that there is so much that food can do to your healing. And it was also the time, most of my reading or whatever little reading I did was about Bruce Lee's and the guys from the West, and that's when I started reading about Jiddu Krishnamurti through Bruce Lee. But nevertheless, I'm not a fan of Jiddu Krishnamurti. I find him boring. But what was fascinating for me is how much of our food is actually abused. So right from abusing our landscapes to abusing the way we eat our own food, which eventually makes what we are. So that particular journey further made me think deeper about the kind of food we consume. We started getting into a lot more food-based diet and started healing my body. I have broken literally from my C5 to my Achilles tendon. Almost every part of my body is broken, literally. But I've actually recovered. I continue to lift, by the way.
I mean, what did you do to break it?
I was into weightlifting, 1. 2, I used to do a lot of hikes. And my backpacks used to be 20, 25, 30 kilos. ये लेकर के तो कहीं चढ़ने गए, वहाँ से नीचे गिरे. And the biggest falls I've had was 60 foot. ठीक है? So I've literally broken everything in my body, but food kept me getting back. I was written off by doctors in Yashoda saying you'll not be able to lift again, you'll never be able to go on a hike ever after. Within 32 days, I was lifting 120 kilos to make a video and send it back to them. So that's how my journey particularly around movement and food has been. So yeah, I've been into telecom industry. I've been trying to do a lot of different things. I've worked with tribals. I have a fascination for ancestral skills. I've been running an NGO, or rather was running an NGO in Nalamala Forest. That's got me closer to the tribals of the regions, particularly Chenchus, Gondlu. So my last program with tribals was 2 years ago, just before the COVID came in Hyderabad. So I was working with the tribals there. So I try and connect people to understand different cultures, traditions, and so on and so forth. While you respect, if you want to respect and understand what you're going through, then you might also want to understand how you interact with the outside world's cultures and traditions. I can keep talking, but yeah, I'm trying to actually close it down. So I've been in education consulting, largely about understanding how learning happens. We were talking about experiential learning. I'm in the space of experiential learning, but I think it's an oxymoron because even while you sit down, you're experiencing something. So you cannot call something exceptionally experiential learning because you are learning, provided you want to learn. So I started understanding how children possibly learn. I started understanding how adults learn. It's actually the exuberance which possibly is the only difference. It's just that we are conditioning, or rather we're conditioning our learning with a lot of preconditioning. Can learning happen on its own? So I started looking, stepping back from the idea of being a teacher to be a facilitator to a mere witness to how learning is happening. So the future school, what we're looking to do is, can I, do the whole education system upside down where the teacher or a facilitator or an individual whomsoever can actually study the child at a very young age of how they behave to a certain or attend to a certain kind of a stimuli. Right? And can I now give a progress report to the parents saying that, hey, you know what, your child possibly responds to an angry situation in a certain manner. You know, he actually attends to a certain kind of an art. You know, जब उसके कला दिखता है या फिर art दिखता है, anger दिखता है, you know, how do we react to all of this? Can this become a composite information about your child which you are possibly not trying to get to about your own child? So that's the school we're trying to enter.
Before I lose the thought, you're talking about turning things topsy-turvy. Maybe you should ask the child to write a report.
Absolutely fine. Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe about peer reviews as they often call. You know, I mean, but yeah, those with
No, just a review about his learning.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I'm not
That
even
would be
talking.
the most authentic.
In fact, I'm not even talking about learning.
evaluation.
Not even talking about learning here, because the child is constantly learning. You like it or not, every day, every moment, including us, we are all learning. It's just that, you know, the West has gone about and actually started framing a phrase called experiential learning. That's life is an experience.
Life
Every
is an
moment of
experience.
which is actually going through an experience. It's a very oxymoron statement that, you know, we call it experience. Nevertheless, yeah, that's pretty much about it. So, and when this is the phase of
Institutionalization is the issue.
Adi problem. Adi problem. See, you know, I'll tell you.
There's a book which is called, which titled something like this. It's called Deschooling Society. And I think that's what happened during Corona. We saw all schools being empty.
There are a lot of documentaries on this schooling. I was mentioning to you last time. In my camps and all, what do I do is the day you come, the introduction is over. Afternoon we have quota evaluation. Each 20 people are there, 20 people listed, 20 columns. You write your comments on it. Every day keep repeating. You will see after 15 days, everybody has got a different impression on. Yeah, I never thought you were like this. No, that's what is actually. We all
I
catch.
think what's interesting is
Sorry, what was the last one you wrote?
We keep on improvising. See, and we keep reading every day. This is what you are today. This is what you are today. This is
the
what you are
perceptions
today.
we go through.
And every day morning, this is the yesterday what they did. Night they think about it. They correct it, write it, and the way I make people to sit is also whoever comes first should sit here next to one person. So there is a 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock people come and sit there because you want to be the first one to comment on all of us. See, it is not forcefully saying, see, I keep saying you have to, what time you have to wake up? I said, no, don't worry. They will wake up by themselves. How? You will see next day when they will wake up. Because this is the assessment, your first seat, first chance to comment on others is only when you sit here. And others should give comments based on which somebody else has not given. So you are so curious to know about what this person told about him. I must find some other reason for loving him or hating him. You have no option. So this is what is experience.
I'd like to add something about the institutionalization. I work with school teachers in my capacity, and I used to run a program called Vidyaranya. Vidyaranya is about, you know, multiple philosophies of education and how we look at education. You know, this was particularly for young people and also teachers to look at, you know, rather being a teacher alone, can I be beyond a teacher? For example, can I be part of a town planning commission? Many a time teachers actually settle down to be a teacher. Right? Invigilation karna, exam dena, bas ho gaya. Can I go beyond this? And can I now look at, you know, a city as a classroom? Can I now look at landscape as a classroom? You know, going beyond your classrooms itself. And in that context, we have a lot of teachers come by. They start asking questions. Acha, ye bahut badhiya hai, you know. Can you give me a framework? The problem is, you take independence from you know, freedom from one system, and now you're seeking, you know, another framework to be falling back on.
That's what we train.
मतलब आप 5 दिन उनके साथ शिविर करते हो, शिविर करने के बाद सोचते हो बहुत बढ़िया
People ask, what do you do in the camp? I said, come and experience.
Same
If I know
thing.
what I'm doing, I'm not, you know,
The
that's why.
person who works for the 30 years, 20 years and 10 years in the corporate
Mainstream,
world,
yeah.
they want to do the organic form. Again, they come and they put same framework in place. Logistics and all. Again, organic farming is the, you should develop the rhythm between the nature and you, Mother Nature and you. Then slow and steadily it teaches you, then you should go through the process. Over the time, what happens.
Yeah.
But nowadays,
How much money?
Logistics, because we sit for our years on that same frame. Again, we sit the same thing. Thought process only works here also, but there is no organic form. There is no natural form.
Hey, Karun sir, are you going to make sambar? I said, after making, I'll tell you which is sambar or not. Understood? Without experiment, I cannot do anything. So I will make something, you name it, whether you want to call it sambar or something else can be later.
Like the kachipulsi,
Oh,
traditional. If you go to the Karnataka side, they have another authentic. If you go to the Karimnagar, same kachipulsu, same thing. It's in different taste.
Yeah.
In Raichur, different state.
Absolutely.
Raw metal is same. Raw mango kachipulsu. Due to these three people, they made it in the different preparation. In Raichur, they add little jaggery. They add little roasted peanut powder. It gives another
Flavor.
It gives little
Kerala, everybody adds coconut. Get out to that sambar.
in their life, jackfruit tree is their and coconut tree. These two, if we take it from their life.
Jackfruit season is so horrible. Morning breakfast is jackfruit. The lunch also that whatever you get for the instead of sambar, what we have is jackfruit, the fruit itself. You grind it well and then that is instead of dal. Because dal we have to buy. This is a substitute for dal.
They use each and everything.
We had enough thing like that. And the fruit is also that nut also you save it. Put it in the mud and whole season you can take it. Mud में डालो. You will put it, don't make it to grow. Dry it well and give a full cover so that no air goes inside. A cover of mud and keep it inside.
Olden days, it's
Like never will go.
south.
Insulation is mud.
Water culture.
So I excuse myself.
We are.
I promise to be more alive next.
Lunch is there.
Lunch is there.
I really need to go.
Hey, you are giving lunch also?
Millet.
Oh my god, otherwise
Otherwise, what millet?
It is
See,
sweet.
I knew it, but I didn't tell it to be because you come only to I didn't want that to be the reason to come.
No, taste it anyway.
I will steal something.
Yeah, I know.
I
He is
didn't
not
want
part
anything
of
for
it.
food.
Thank you.
Sweet.
Shrikant is so kind of you.
Sorry, sir.
So kind of you.
Why? I have
We,
not.
no. You are here with the sleepy also is a great thing.
No, honestly, I'm still.
I can see that
I
energy.
should say sorry because I only kept pushing
Yeah, I
and
was
pushing
very
it.
keen
He
to
told
come
me,
last time.
specifically told us Shrikant is coming. Yesterday we was mentioning.
You were the main draw, sir.
No, I am not.
I don't. I came to see you. But I've met so many beautiful people.
All are iron powders.
You got something.
So thank you, sir.
Washroom or any
Give me.
आपने आम तो ना ट्राई किया
जो मिला वो खाया, जो भी था बहुत मजा आया.
ब्राउन वाला था
आप कहाँ रहते हैं? सैनिक पुरी में कहाँ रहती हैं?
हाँ?
सैनिक पुरी में कहाँ रहती हैं?
पाइलपुरी.
मालपुरी में कहाँ?
81.
पक्का
क्या,
है?
what do you know about पाइलपुरी?
मैं वहीं खेलता था. बंदूक को देखने 50 वहीं बैठते थे हम.
तो सब कुछ मालूम होगा जल्दी जल्दी यहाँ पे ब्राउन वाली black
Both my sons studied in Sainik Puri, Bharadevjan.
अच्छा.
So they
So
used
in
to.
which school was yours?
I was in Atomic Energy Center school.
So you also were there. So you knew them.
We just met.
We just met.
Because Meena madam is also from that school.
Yeah.
Who's Meena madam?
And that I used to come to that Department of Atomic Energy school with my
Last time
scientific heritage
mentioned,
classes, Saturday, Sunday, and then demonstrate all that and give classes. It was one of my
Because in
subjects.
that school I gave the atomic energy school में पे को मतलब presentations किया भी है.
No,
But
I also
how-
keep requesting
So
from
how many
faculty.
years you were in USA?
Don't throw me.
Well, I was never in the US.
So from where did you pick up the accent?
I don't know, somewhere midway.
कहाँ? You were in US for years or no?
Never.
Europe travels.
I traveled in Europe for 2 years.
Yeah, that's a
Just
Europe
backpacking.
Europe stick.
I mean that is Stockholm.
I got a very British accent.
That's a Europe stick, I'm saying. Europe to Europe.
But who speaks to you in the same accent over here for you to retain that accent?
James Bond.
See, I have an American accent.
No, you don't have.
No, I don't use it.
Knowing a
Only
language is a
see,
different than
only thing you
See, I have
respond
an,
when
see, I
that
have an
person is
Australian
important.
accent and an American. 5 years I lived. But it's just that and I have a Hyderabadi Hindi accent also. When I talk to my
Hyderabadi,
Hyderabadi,
no.
That's what I'm saying.
Ah,
We all
what is the
reflect.
Hyderabad,
We all
there
reflect.
are 5 Hindi accents.
We all reflect. That's
We
what we
possible.
are now
But
in the
depends
phase
on
of
what is it.
identifying
North Indian,
parents.
South
We need
Indian.
at least 50 parents who can be part of this movement. We now have 4
ఏంటి
parents.
గురుగారు
It's matter. It doesn't matter. It is
Only
not,
so
not,
small,
bound by an academic calendar.
Pillana?
We can start in December.
It's like a
we can start
recorded
in January.
in
It
How
doesn't matter.
Srikanth goes?
It's just a space.
How Srikanth is doing, you can put it in.
బాగా పిల్లలకి అబ్జర్వ్ చేసి
Talent is a very bad connotation with that.
Why don't you try some?
We only have and then we'll get first.
Very useful to know. Stimulating Durga land.
One o'clock something. Yeah. So we
I
have,
become
She's
this
also hungry.
I possibly look at the food in a certain way versus
Yeah.
the way you do.
we'll have lunch and then
It is just not articulating how you observe.
I see take time ऐसे ही.
So what?
I will.
नहीं, मोहन जी is also leaving. Gun हो रहा है तो
अभी बंद नहीं हो रहा भाई।
हाँ, 12 मिनट है.
तो बोले दो बार।
It's like I have got students in America when they test doctor asks you how much you pay out of 10. There was a 6.75.
ऐसे from coming जब मैं घर से बाहर निकल रही थी I have been dreaming that I am today going to get masala dosa somewhere outside.
Yeah,
अच्छा.
but this
ये
is much
dream
better
के
than.
साथ
But this is much better masala.
नहीं इसके बाद
No, no.
छोड़े
When you have the desire, do eating meditation.
No. When we used to go to Kailas and then take a run. I was next to all the time I was thinking about masala dosa. All the discussion that we had is gone. She is still thinking about where to eat masala dosa. I was telling her yesterday, all the children are seeing digital, but they are thinking when the food will come.
यार ये गुड्डू और लेదంటే food.
See, what's a boarding school yesterday we went. We went to some
Babu,
work.
yeah.
Yesterday I had sent the picture very specifically children sitting to Dr. Karnal. See, you have a digital and this much room. Half of them is filled with the egg and something is there with the heating chai for the teachers. And so, this much place, everybody is put into stack into this and then look into there and then learn what is happening. And it's so boring class. And this is what is digital media lecture classrooms.
That is about वो दाना चुगता है ना वो चिड़िया सब आते हैं वल में फंसते हैं जाते हैं वो
And
वाला
no
दाना.
chidiya there is only one picture there and some sound. That sound is also not
Presentation in the
very good.
background.
The teacher is sitting there and then looking at no, suno.
What is that suno?
I think it's actually horrible.
सुरेश का
Who has drawn these pictures? They are so nice.
That's what
I
I'm
packed beautifully.
मतलब ऐसे कैसे like I mean hand drawn है या कुछ stencil लगा है?
No.
Stencils. And free hand.
Who?
His friend.
Really? Because
ఇది
you see-
ఇది ఏం మెటీరియల్ ఈ వైట్ దే మెటీరియల్
Wait, paint.
Paint or
Paint. Paint.
ఇది మటుకు బియ్యం.
Oh, because
Yes.
it's-
This
it's
may be
without
paper.
sketching,
Soak the rice.
This is not difficult.
టేస్ట్ లాగా
See, I'm not saying it is
ఇక్కడ
difficult, but
వేరే.
it's so fine. Fine.
इसे what
You
now?
see the line.
Hmm.
There are the
The
name
namam.
stroke.
We call it the namam. Okay, namam. What it is. We have a particular traditional rice varieties. They have
It's going to fall off.
they have that stickiness property. They soak overnight. While grinding, we put little limestone. Then they put in the hand fingers on the olden days.
because you can touch.
But this is not with finger.
This is not finger.
This is not finger.
No,
But-
generally what they do is in Kerala and all what they use is the nariyal cup.
Stop.
Everything is very
It's very
So,
easy.
you know, sir, I told
If you can
last
draw the eyebrows that neatly, why not do this?
అంతే yes.
What?
See, namam also is very
Yeah.
very delicate also.
No,
That is with that small stick only, na?
That stick is the
అంతే.
nariyal cup. Yeah, it's fine, good.
Fingers se bhi kar sakte hain, wrists se bhi kar sakte hain, stick se bhi kar sakte hain.
It's only artistic. You should have that
एकदम
power.
perfect symmetric जो भी
No, you create such a room with the mud, this thing and all that. Then somebody will come and draw for you free. See, Sharira Madhyam Khala Dharmasa. First you need a base. Once base is there, somebody will come. At right time, somebody will come to you.
So, mana
Intention first.
Suresh Garu also is has some appointment. He leave at 1 o'clock. So one thing is,
But
his,
I
See,
think
you
that
all have
his farm
you
thing-
all have appointments. We have disappointment only. No. Ready for disappointment.
Okay, you tell about yourself.
so वो farm जो था ना, मतलब नहीं वो तो
taking mind and body.
Huh?
I'm just learning about mind and body.
Mind and body.
he has two places. He was Nitya Arogya Clinic in
Yoga service in అంటే basically it's a health and body గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నాం. So mind and body.
We have so
ఈ మధ్య కాలంలో చాలా ఎక్కువ విషయాలు తెలుస్తుంది.
We will
There are more than
have
all
all these
these
places.
So దాని గురించి మంచిగా తెలుస్తుంది. కాలేజీ తెలుస్తుంది. టాపిక్ ప్రాక్టీస్ చేస్తుంది.
yes.
Right place. That is the house.
Never say no to food.
मैं तो पहले खड़ा जाता हूँ
Yes. Yes.
You understood?
People
We also share.
Ante.
See, you put my requirement also at his place.
Ante.
So we have branches all throughout Hyderabad.
Ante.
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 That is consortium.
Ante.